save for the hum of fluorescent lights as I stepped into the arena. There I was, a determined woman with a hidden fire, facing the smirking CEO who had just belittled my worth. "You're just an employee. You can never reach my level," he sneered, his voice dripping with condescension. I met his gaze with a cool, unwavering smile and replied, "Let's see." In that split second, the air around us shifted. I could feel the weight of his mockery and the audacity of my own ambition pulsing in my veins. This was not just about pride, it was about seizing control of my destiny. Every employee in the room sensed the tension as his words echoed against the sterile walls. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with anticipation. I recalled the countless late nights, the relentless determination to prove that I was not just another cog in the corporate machine. My mind flashed back to the relentless grind of the past years, working tirelessly behind the scenes, strategizing and building alliances, all while keeping my ambitions hidden under a veil of quiet competence. I had spent months meticulously studying every financial report, every board meeting transcript, every whispered conversation in the corridors. While he flaunted his power, I had quietly amassed a network of loyal colleagues and investors, all believing in a vision that extended beyond his petty arrogance. I had nurtured my dream with the same compassion I showed to my team, often offering a listening ear and a kind word when the pressure became unbearable. It was this blend of steely resolve and heartfelt empathy that set me apart. The CEO's laughter rang in a room as he dismissed my aspirations. But his laughter was also a challenge, a gauntlet thrown at my feet. I could see the skepticism in his eyes, the assurance of his privileged position. Yet beneath that veneer of authority lay his own insecurities, hidden behind years of self-aggrandizement. As his mocking tone filled the room, I silently vowed to transform his derision into my stepping stone. Without wasting a beat, I announced my departure from the boardroom, leaving a ripple of murmurs among the staff. My stride was purposeful, my mind already racing through the steps I had carefully planned. I made my way to the corner office where the deals were silently forged, the futures of companies decided in hushed negotiations. I could feel the heartbeat of the enterprise pulsating around me, each department contributing to the lifeblood of this colossal organization. In that moment, I was more than an employee. I was a force of nature, an embodiment of change waiting to be unleashed. The echoes of his dismissive words reverberated in my mind, fueling my determination to prove him wrong. My plan was set in motion, one that would soon bring me face to face with the realization of my dreams. I had not only been plotting my ascent, but had also taken the bold step of finalizing a deal that very night. The clandestine negotiations had been long and arduous, fraught with risk and uncertainty, but my vision was clear. I envisioned a company transformed by empathy and strength, where the human element was valued as much as profit margins. This was a revolution in corporate governance, a move away from ruthless ambition towards a balance of power and kindness. Every step I took was a testament to the resilience of a woman who had been underestimated for far too long. With every whispered conversation and every covert meeting, I had built a network of allies who believed in fairness and innovation. Tonight, as I retraced the arc of my own destiny, I felt a surge of pride and determination. My journey was not merely a quest for personal power, it was a mission to redefine leadership. The boardroom, the office, the entire company would soon feel the tremors of change. I could already envision a future where respect was earned not through intimidation, but through genuine care and unwavering commitment to excellence. As I made my way back to my modest workspace, I passed colleagues who exchanged knowing glances, silently cheering my resolve. There was a spark in their eyes, an unspoken promise of loyalty and shared ambition. In that charged moment, I was ready to rise, not for revenge alone, but to build a legacy that embraced both strength and kindness. The night had been long, but the dawn promised a new era, one where even the fiercest criticisms could not dim the light of genuine leadership. The CEO might have seen me as nothing more than an employee, but soon he would see that I was the architect of my own destiny, and that destiny was unstoppable. I stepped boldly into destiny, my future blazing brightly. In the quiet aftermath of that charged moment in the boardroom, I retreated into the depths of my mind where plans and possibilities converged. The adrenaline from the confrontation still coursed through my veins as I made my way to a secluded corner of the office, where late-night meetings and hushed negotiations had become my secret realm. It wasn't just the desire for retribution that fueled me. It was a profound commitment to reshape the company's culture, to prove that leadership could be both fierce and compassionate. I pulled out my phone, its screen glowing with messages of support from trusted allies. "We're ready," one message read, followed by another that simply stated, "Let's change the game." I smiled at these words, knowing that behind each terse digital exchange lay the hope of employees who yearned for a fair and just workplace. In that moment, I realized that my struggle was not solely my own. It was a beacon for all those who had ever felt small in the shadows of corporate giants. My mind wandered to the long hours spent poring over financial reports, the endless spreadsheets that concealed secrets of inefficiency and greed. I recalled the nights when sleep was a distant luxury, replaced by determination and a belief that one person could indeed alter the course of history. The journey to this point had been fraught with challenges, yet every setback had only strengthened my resolve. I remembered the comforting words of a mentor who once said, "True power is forged in adversity, tempered by compassion." Those words echoed in my heart as I prepared to take the next step. I arranged a meeting with a consortium of investors, a group of seasoned financiers disillusioned by the oppressive management of the past. In the dim light of a private dining room off the main floor, I sat across from them, every detail of my vision laid bare. I explained, with a mixture of urgency and hope, how the company could not only be profitable but also a force for positive change. Imagine a future where success is measured not solely by the bottom line, but by the well-being of every employee, I declared, my voice resonating with both determination and sincerity. Their expressions, initially skeptical, slowly softened as I detailed the strategies that could revolutionize the organization. I spoke of innovative management techniques, transparent financial practices, and, most importantly, a renewed focus on human dignity. "We are not here to trample on anyone's dreams," I emphasized. "Instead, we shall build an environment where each individual is empowered to reach their full potential." The room filled with a palpable sense of possibility, as if the weight of years of discontent were finally beginning to lift. As the night unfolded, the conversation shifted from the numbers and policies to a more personal tone. One investor, a weathered woman with kind eyes, leaned forward and said, "I see in you not only ambition but also the heart of a true leader. It is rare to find someone who combines resolve with compassion." Her words reaffirmed my belief that this was the right path. In that private moment, I vowed to honor the trust they had placed in me by not only seizing power, but also using it to elevate those around me. The negotiations stretched into the early hours of the morning, with every detail meticulously discussed and every risk carefully weighed. Amid the tension of high-stakes decision-making, I remained steadfast, my focus unyielding. The experience was both exhilarating and daunting, a reminder that the price of transformation is often paid in sleepless nights and bold gambles. Yet, as the final documents were signed, a sense of quiet triumph settled over the room. I had done it. I had secured a deal that would see me not just join the ranks of leadership, but assume the helm of the very company that had once belittled me. Leaving the dining room, I paused in the empty corridor, the cool air whispering promises of change. In that solitary moment, I felt a profound connection to every employee who had ever doubted themselves, every voice that had been silenced by the weight of corporate tyranny. I knew that this victory was as much theirs as it was mine, a collective breakthrough achieved through perseverance and shared hope. In the reflection of the polished office windows, I saw not a single individual, but a mosaic of dreams and aspirations. Each reflection was a story, a struggle, a silent plea for recognition and respect. And in that mosaic, I vowed to be both a champion and a guardian. My ambition was tempered by a deep-seated kindness, a promise to lead with empathy and fairness. I had tasted the bitterness of scorn and the sweetness of success, and now I was determined to ensure that no one else endured the same fate. With the first light of dawn creeping through the glass walls of the office, I knew that a new chapter was about to begin. The air in the company headquarters grew heavy with anticipation as whispers of change began to ripple through every corridor. In the days following the clandestine agreement, I sensed a shift in the atmosphere, a silent acknowledgement that the old order was crumbling. Senior executives exchanged uneasy glances, and even the usually stoic middle managers appeared unsettled. Every conversation seemed to carry a hint of uncertainty, as if the building itself were holding its breath in anticipation of the storm that was about to break. I had spent the intervening hours preparing meticulously for the inevitable fallout. Late nights blurred into early mornings as I revisited every strategy, every contingency plan. In one of those sleepless nights, I found myself alone in the deserted hallways of the building, the echo of my footsteps punctuating the silence like a metronome. I recalled a conversation with a trusted colleague, Maria, who had once confided in me. "You carry not only your ambition but also the weight of our hopes. Promise me you won't let the darkness consume you." Her words resonated with me, a gentle reminder that kindness was my guiding star even in this treacherous game of power. As I navigated through the labyrinth of corporate offices, I encountered former allies and skeptics alike. In a brief but charged encounter with Samuel, a senior manager whose loyalty was ambiguous, I heard him murmur, "This is a risky move, but I believe you have the strength to lead." His cautious optimism stirred something deep within me, a reminder that even in the murk of corporate warfare, there existed genuine faith in a better future. I responded with a quiet nod, acknowledging his faith without uttering more than a few words. In that fleeting moment, I saw not a rival, but a partner in the quest for justice and progress. The dark corridors of power, lined with portraits of past leaders, now seemed to watch my every move with disquiet. I recalled the days when I had been dismissed as insignificant, when the laughter of the CEO echoed in my ears like a cruel symphony. Now, every step I took was a silent declaration of defiance against that very memory. I passed by the door of the old boardroom, now shrouded in silence, and felt a pang of sorrow for the times lost to ignorance and hubris. Yet, beneath that sorrow lay a steely resolve to never again allow such dismissal to go unchallenged. In a hushed conversation with a trusted executive named Darren, I learned that there were factions within the company planning to undermine the old guard's influence. "They fear change," Darren confided, his voice barely above a whisper, "and they're ready to sabotage any move that threatens the status quo." His words sent a chill down my spine, but I knew that fear was a natural reaction to transformation. "We will overcome their resistance with integrity and transparency," I assured him, my tone resolute yet compassionate. "Every act of treachery will only fuel our resolve to build a fairer, more honest organization." The tension reached a crescendo during a surprise meeting called by the interim board. The room was filled with a mix of anxious faces and defiant stares as I took my seat at the head of the table. The former CEO, his once confident demeanor now marred by uncertainty, glowered at me from across the table. "You think you can simply waltz in and take over?" he demanded, his voice cracking under the strain of his own arrogance. I met his gaze steadily, replying, "I think I have every right to change the course of this company." The exchange was electric, charged with the weight of years of suppressed frustration and a yearning for justice. At that moment, a ripple of murmurs spread among the board members. One by one, they began to voice their thoughts, their dialogue a blend of caution and hope. "Perhaps it is time for a new direction," suggested one board member, while another added, "Leadership must evolve to reflect the values of the people." The conversation swelled, a turbulent mix of confrontation and constructive debate that underscored the magnitude of the transition taking place. Between the heated exchanges, I made it a point to offer a gesture of kindness to those who doubted my intentions. I reached out to a longtime employee, Carla, who had once been disillusioned by the rigid hierarchy of the company. "Carla, your experience and insight are invaluable," I said softly, assuring her that her contributions would be recognized in this new era. Her eyes glistened with renewed hope, a silent promise that perhaps change was not only possible but imminent. This act of reassurance rippled through the room, reminding everyone that leadership was about uplifting every voice. The meeting concluded with no definitive resolution, only a promise of further deliberation and a mutual understanding that change was inevitable. As the board members filed out, I lingered at the table, reflecting on the complexity of human ambition and the fragility of established order. The confrontation had been a microcosm of the larger battle, a struggle between old habits and a vision for a more inclusive future. I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but each obstacle was an opportunity to reinforce the principles of justice and kindness that guided me. Stepping out into the cool evening air, I felt the weight of the day's events settle upon me. The path forward was shrouded in uncertainty, yet my heart burned with a fierce determination to steer the company towards a brighter future. In that twilight moment, as the city lights flickered to life, I whispered a silent vow to myself. I would honor the trust placed in me, and I would do so with both strength and compassion. This act of reassurance rippled through the room, reminding everyone that leadership was about uplifting every voice. Absolutely. The morning sun pierced through the towering glass windows as I strode confidently toward the office that once belonged to the man who had mocked me. My heart pounded not with anxiety, but with a resolute determination, a blend of vindication and responsibility that weighed on every step. Every footfall echoed like a drumbeat of change, resonating throughout the silent corridors of what was now my domain. The reception area, once a symbol of the old regime, now buzzed with murmurs of anticipation as employees recognized the shift in power. I paused for a moment at the threshold, taking in the scene, colleagues whose eyes shimmered with hope, whispers of excitement floating through the air like gentle promises of a brighter future. I knew that this moment was more than a personal victory. It was a turning point for everyone who had ever suffered under tyranny. As I approached the CEO's former office, memories of that fateful confrontation resurfaced, mingling with the present reality. The polished door, emblazoned with his name, now stood as a silent relic of a bygone era. I hesitated only a fraction of a second before pushing it open, aware that every decision from this point forward would be scrutinized, celebrated, or condemned. The room was bathed in the soft glow of morning light, its furnishings exuding an air of legacy and tradition. But now, those relics were about to bear witness to a new chapter in the company's story. Inside, I found the former CEO seated behind an imposing mahogany desk, his eyes wide with disbelief as he looked up at me. For a moment, the world seemed to stop, time itself pausing to acknowledge the magnitude of the shift. His mouth opened in silent protest, yet no words emerged. I broke the silence with a calm yet commanding voice. "Good morning. I'm here to lead this company into a new era." My words hung in the air, charged with both authority and a promise of fairness. The tension in the room was palpable. I could feel the weight of his past arrogance, the residue of his dismissive sneers that had haunted me for so long. But rather than seizing the opportunity for vindictive retribution, I chose a path of measured resolve. "I understand the legacy that rests on these shoulders," I continued, my tone sincere, "and I intend to honor it by building upon it with innovation, empathy, and unwavering commitment to every member of our team." My declaration was not merely an assertion of power, it was an invitation to join me in a collaborative future. A spark of remorse flickered in his eyes, a fleeting moment where I saw the man behind the mask of authority, a man who, like all of us, had once been shaped by dreams and vulnerabilities. "I never imagined," he began, but his voice trailed off, overwhelmed by the realization that his world was crumbling. I inclined my head slightly, acknowledging the complexity of our shared history. "It's not about erasing the past, but learning from it and moving forward together," I said softly, offering him a measure of dignity in his fall from power. As the conversation unfolded, the room transformed into a forum of genuine dialogue. I invited him to share his insights, his regrets, and his hopes for what the company could become. In that charged moment, I demonstrated that leadership was not synonymous with cruelty or absolute control. Instead, it was an evolving dialogue, a partnership between former adversaries united by the desire to create something enduring and just. Outside the office, the hum of the workplace had grown louder. Employees gathered in clusters, their faces lit with a mixture of curiosity and relief. It was as if the very heartbeat of the company had quickened, synchronizing with the new rhythm of hope that I was setting in motion. I made my way back to the center of the room, not with arrogance, but with the quiet assurance of someone who had fought long and hard for every inch of progress. In the ensuing days, as I settled into my new role, I instituted sweeping changes that echoed the promises I had made that morning. I met personally with department heads, listened attentively to their concerns, and initiated reforms aimed at fostering transparency and inclusivity. It wasn't long before whispers of a revitalized corporate culture began to spread like wildfire, a culture where kindness was as valued as competence and where every voice was heard. Change begins with kindness. In the weeks that followed, the corridors of the company transformed into a tapestry of hope, resilience, and renewed purpose. I walked through hallways where once silence reigned, now replaced by the vibrant murmur of collaborative innovation. Every face I passed radiated a quiet determination, as if the collective heartbeat of the organization had synchronized with the rhythm of change. It was a living testament to the power of transformation, a reminder that true leadership is measured not by the titles one holds, but by the lives one touches. I made it a point to visit every department, from the bustling marketing teams to the meticulous finance offices, personally listening to the concerns and aspirations of those who had long felt voiceless. In one memorable meeting, I sat down with a group of junior analysts who had been sidelined in previous leadership structures. "Your ideas matter," I assured them, my voice warm and genuine, "and together we will forge a path where every perspective is valued." Their eyes lit up with gratitude, and in that moment, I felt the weight of years of neglect lift from my shoulders. It wasn't just about implementing policies or changing strategies. It was about nurturing a culture of inclusivity and mutual respect. I introduced initiatives that promoted cross-departmental collaboration, ensuring that the lessons learned from past mistakes were not forgotten but rather used as stepping stones toward a more enlightened future. Every new project, every revised protocol, was infused with a spirit of kindness, a pledge that no one would ever again be dismissed or overlooked. The transformation was not without its challenges. There were moments of resistance, echoes of the old ways that threatened to pull us back into familiar patterns of isolation and indifference. Yet, each obstacle was met with thoughtful deliberation and a steadfast commitment to our shared vision. I recall a particularly intense day when a heated debate erupted in a strategy meeting. A senior manager, still clinging to the vestiges of outdated practices, argued vehemently against a proposal that aimed to decentralize decision-making. "This chaos will only lead to inefficiency," he warned. I listened intently, acknowledging his concerns, and then responded, "True efficiency comes from empowering every individual to contribute their best." The room fell silent as my words sank in, and slowly, the debate turned toward a more constructive dialogue. It was a defining moment, one that underscored the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. As the season of growth unfolded, the once fractured organization began to heal. The legacy of exclusion and rigid hierarchy gave way to a dynamic environment where creativity and compassion flourished side by side. I found that leading with kindness not only transformed the company, but also changed me. Each day, as I faced new challenges and celebrated small victories, I was reminded of the power of empathy and the importance of staying true to one's values. In quiet moments of reflection, I would often revisit the memory of that fateful boardroom confrontation, the catalyst that set this entire journey in motion, and feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the opportunity to turn adversity into progress. Beyond the confines of the office, the changes rippled outward, inspiring other organizations and even local communities to re-examine their own leadership styles. I was invited to speak at industry conferences, where I shared not just the technical details of our corporate turnaround, but also the deeply personal lessons of resilience, humility, and the transformative power of kindness. In every conversation, I emphasized that real success is measured by the positive impact one has on others, and that a legacy built on empathy is one that endures far beyond quarterly reports or profit margins. Even as the demands of leadership grew, I never lost sight of the individual stories that formed the heartbeat of our company. I made it a ritual to host monthly gatherings, informal yet heartfelt, where employees from every level could come together, share their stories, and offer mutual support. These moments of genuine connection rekindled the spark of community, reinforcing the idea that we were not just a workforce, but a family united in our pursuit of a better tomorrow. In the stillness of a late afternoon, as I looked out over the bustling city from my office window, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey had been arduous, marked by moments of doubt and confrontation, yet it had also been profoundly enriching. I had reclaimed not only my own destiny, but had also paved the way for countless others to rise above the confines of past limitations. It was a legacy of renewal, a beacon of hope that shone as brightly as the morning sun. I firmly believed that the solid foundations we built together